Hey, what's up guys? Random Porpoise here, and today we're back with another Planet Coaster video. This is going to be the last one video for a little bit that's going to be focused on a roller coaster. I'm still going to, it's not the last roller coaster I'm going to make in this series, obviously. I think there's around like 12, anywhere from 10 to 15 that I'm like planning on making like in total. And this also isn't, I don't finish the coaster here, like not even close, just the layout and like the paths and the colors basically. So yeah, but basically after this, I'm gonna do some work kind of on like the paths and the surrounding area of like the other coasters I've already built. Like I want to make the whole entrance area. I want to finish that. That'll probably be like one or two episodes. I doubt it'll be more. I don't know. I don't know though. And then obviously start working on the area in between the entrance and flamethrower and kind of where the flat ride I placed is, and maybe a little bit on the midway past Timber Terror and like. Also, those will be other episodes probably, and like over on the path that goes over to Aviator, the Vekoma launch coaster, that also needs working on because I didn't really do anything on the paths besides place them there. The only parts where I actually have stuff done is where there's a roller coaster, and only a major one. I only have 3 like major ones. The kiddie coaster is literally nothing except a little plaza with nothing on it. So, yeah. So this ride will just kind of be sat dormant, open. I'll probably open it just so people will come, maybe, with no scenery. Although, actually, no. What I might do, I'll probably do the blueprint trick, as I like to call it, where you get one of the scenery blueprints and place it like on the path of the queue, and they count for like a ridiculous amount of scenery. So I just keep doing that until it's 100% queue scenery, and then people will ride it without me having to put in any effort. I'm just kidding. That'll just be a placeholder until I do the actual scenery for this. Because what I usually do with my Planet Coaster parks is I make all the roller coasters and like their surrounding areas, and then I do all the other stuff. And I don't want this series to be like that because, like, it's the first like 20 episodes are gonna be all, like 25 episodes are gonna be all roller coasters, and there's gonna be like another like 20 something episodes that are like all just scenery, and that's boring. Like, I want to kind of spread it out a bit, like work on a coaster, do some scenery, then start a new coaster and work on that and do some scenery, and then do another coaster, and then bam, the last few episodes are like finishing touches, and then like I'm done. Like, I don't want to finish building all the roller coasters until I'm like before I finish a large amount of the scenery. Like, I want the last, like, thing I do in this park before it's, like, finished and stuff is to kind of, like, build a roller coaster area. And its area. Because I find that watching roller coasters and their surrounding areas being built is a lot more interesting than just a random entrance building. So, yeah. Into the topic of this video, I should have probably said this 3 minutes ago when I started recording this voiceover. We're building an intamin 10 inversion coaster, a custom layout though, so it'll be similar. It's like the same model as something like Colossus at Thorpe Park, but it's a different layout. So yeah, and it's a little bit newer. If you know, I make all my coasters in my parks. Like, I like to kind of imagine what year they opened up. This one opened in 2010. Solely because that's the same year I-305 opened, and I want it to be an excuse so I can have ridiculous positive G-forces that are technically realistic, but like, it's very rare you'll see them that strong because, like, people gray out. And like to have it really intense and stuff. And I didn't want to use the vector trains because I use them all the time, and I feel like there's going to be at least like 2 more coasters with the vector trains in this park because I already have Aviator. That's one. That's like enough. Like, and the vector trains are so versatile. Like, you can use them for a bunch of different things in different manufacturers, and like, I didn't want every single thrill ride to use the same trains, even though one's from Vekoma, one's from Mac, one's from Intamin, one's from RMC or whatever, So yeah, I built this. This might be my smoothest coaster I've ever built. There's still like a few little things that I might change that are like a little weird, like especially the 0G roll. It's not like unsmooth. It's just I think it's a little too whippy for the speed it's going at, so it kind of feels unsmooth, I guess. And then there's just some other weird little kinks. Like, they're really small. Like, I think, yeah, this is probably the smoothest ride I've made. But there's definitely some changing I will have to do to it, like, in the future. Or at least, I don't think I really have to, but it's stuff I'll probably do. But I made most of this ride with, I made the whole ride with the 2-meter smoothing technique. Well, not really. I mean, I use the 4-meter smoothing technique, which is when you build it with really small pieces and then smooth it one by one. Because I have the smoothing mod that makes it super easy now. But I use like smaller pieces, like 2-meter and 1-meter pieces as well, and even some 3-meter pieces. So I don't know if it's really, I'll still probably call it the 4-meter technique because it's basically the same thing, just with smaller pieces. But there are some parts like quick transitions I did retrack. Like I built it all in 2-meter and 3-meter. But then there's some parts that I did end up retracking with 1-meter. Or you can technically even make even smaller pieces than that with like heart lining and stuff. So yeah. It's kind of weird. But yeah, so I think it's really smooth, and it did take a while to smooth, but that's because I just smoothed it until it was like perfect. Well, or it just wasn't changing, like the 0G roll, which I'm not sure what I'll do with that. With the 0G roll, honestly. Like, I might do that. I'll probably like just make it a bit less whippy. Like I'll come back to it later when after I do all the work on like the entrance area and stuff, and just kind of smooth out the kinks and maybe change a few elements a little bit. But like I think it's really realistic and like smooth, and I really like the layout too. So I'm happy with that. I can't wait to see what the final product will look like, what it'll look like at the end. I'm planning on doing like kind of futuristic sci-fi theming. I mean, I'm not planning on, I know I'm doing it. I mean, I guess that is what planning on it is. But I want it to be like all kind of like a mix of like sci-fi and the Smiler, where it's like, but also like Kumba, I guess, because like Kumba I haven't seen Kumba IRL, but I've seen like videos, and doesn't it like dive in and around the paths a lot? Like, because one hand it's like Smiler, where they're compact, like there's this whole section that's like a bunch of track twisting around, and there's a few parts that kind of stray off, like the Cobra roll is kind of out of the way, like there's like, and the airtime hill and corkscrew over there, like that's kind of like a mini out and back section, and then obviously what I call the reverse flying snake dive, which I eventually built. You haven't seen me build it yet. That's like before the end, and the stuff over there, like after that, is kind of its own section because it has to kind of get back to where the brakes are. And I do kind of think I should have kind of try to keep it all in one area instead of, and like maybe just made the brakes instead of a 90-degree turn, a 180-degree turn for the brakes. But yeah, so that's kind of like this, I guess, but I wanted to have compact and fast pace like the Smiler, but I wanted it to have a lot of pathway interaction, like diving under bridges, going directly over the path, so you can like be right next to the coaster, like every single part of the track. And then the queue line also, there's like a part where it like dives under, like into one of the, I guess, either trenches or tunnels. I'm not sure if I'll make it a trench or a tunnel yet. I think a trench, where there's like a mini airtime hill. And so and I'm like really happy with how I made it interact with the paths and stuff, and like the queue. And I'm kind of like experimenting, like, I'm gonna make like a bit of a shorter queue for this one than my other ones, just to kind of see if it'll fill up, because in real life, sometimes it definitely would, like with the queue length I've made, like it would definitely fill up fairly often, I feel like. But like my other roller coasters that I built have like pretty long queues and they've never filled up. Like the closest they've come to filling up was, actually no, Timber Towers is pretty short. That's just some switchbacks in a path, and a long path is straight. But Flamethrower, it's like not even been half filled before, and that was a 70-minute wait. Like it said on the coaster, when you click on it, it says the wait time if it's open. And it was 71 minutes, so that was pretty cool, I guess. That was like the most, and it was like, if you remember, when you're going from the station, no, when you're going from the path to the station, there was like a bunch of switchbacks. Then it goes out for a while. Then it kind of turns around. Then it kind of it goes like right, and then turns around and comes back. And then it kind of makes its way to the station. Like, it was the line started like right where that first long straight path ended, I guess. So yeah, I don't think I'll make them that long. And like, Aviators is also really long, actually. It doesn't have any switchbacks because I don't like them, but it's actually like a really long path. Like, I timed it in the ground camera to see like how long it would take for me to walk through it, and it took a whole minute, while Flamethrowers was only like 40 seconds, Timber Terror was like 25, and this one was also around like 30 to 40. So, yeah. No, this one was like 25 to 30, I think. It was around 30. I know that. But Aviators was insanely long. So, I don't know if I'll shorten it. I'm just gonna, what I'll probably end up doing is just put a bunch of random signs that you can't really see, but with the way the coding works, the path guest will be able to quote-unquote see it. And I'll have like a bunch of those that advertise Aviator, so a bunch of people go to it, and then it's not such a long queue for what's usually a short ride, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it's like this really long and windy path that it didn't really feel like it would be that long, honestly. And then I tested it. So yeah, I might shorten that up a bit sometime. Like when I like kind of after the entrance building and like maybe a few more rides installed, like flat rides probably, and maybe a roller coaster or two. Like if it just doesn't seem to be getting that long of a wait, what I'll probably do is I'll make it so the actual queue path goes through one of the gates I set up, because like I set up these little gates at the queue where you can kind of skip really long portions. So if it's like a short day, you won't have to walk all the way through it. Like a lot of real life parks do that with like switchbacks. But what I'll probably do is I'll just make the actual path for the guests to walk on go through those gates, and just kind of have it fake. And then if it does end up getting too long, then I'll just reroute it again, you know. So yeah, that's what I'll probably do. I've kind of been off track. I mean, all we're really doing this episode is building the layout for this roller coaster, and there also we build some of the path. We build like the paths for the surrounding area, but that's it, and the queue line. But we don't do any of the scenery or anything. But yeah, smoothing this took a long time because I just want it to be perfect, and I'm bad at like profiling inversions. So, yeah, like it's something I definitely need to work on. So there's some weird stuff that goes on. Like the Cobra roll took ages to figure out. The corkscrew still isn't perfect, honestly. The Stangle dives are... I can't get I've never been able to do a perfect Stangle dive. If you don't know what that is, it's when... It's like... You just kind of saw it. It's when you're in a bank turn, and then you quickly snap to the... And then as you're going up, you quickly snap to the other banking direction, so it's like an overbank. And then it comes down, and then you snap back. And they're really fun. Like, Skyrush has one. And it's like a really fun like transition out of it because it's super whippy, and you kind of get like, it's like really weird. And sometimes like if they're not banked enough, that's more of like a wave turn, so you get some airtime, which is nice. But they're similar to like wave turns that are outer banks, but they're over banked outer banks is I guess the best way to describe it. And they're usually really snappy like going into them. And sometimes though they only have a snap like. They don't really change directions at first. They kind of just go into an overbank and then snap out of it to the other direction. Like Maverick has one. No, not like that. And then sometimes they kind of snap into a direction, but then they stay in that direction. Maverick is one of those. I'm pretty sure Skyrush has 2 snaps. I know Bizarra Great Adventure has it's not really a Stangle dive because it's not that much bank, but it's kind of similar, I guess. And it has a snap going from left to right as you're going up, and then there's a little stall kind of as you're banked pretty steeply, but I don't think it's an overbank. I think it's below 90 degrees, and it's not that high, and it's not that whippy either. But yeah, they're like really cool elements, honestly, and I just love putting them on my roller coasters, but they're so hard to get perfect. These ones, I think it was because they were small, because it's not that big of a coaster, so it's a pretty small Stangle dive, so it's hard to get perfectly smooth because even the smallest pieces are still kind of big compared to the element. So then like the profile, because the smoothing would be able to kind of reshape the profiling to make it less banked and stuff and just weirder. So yeah, it was annoying to do that. Another thing that was annoying, I used the Infinity coaster for this because the track is like really similar to real life Intamin track, and there's like different options and stuff. And I thought it was like the best one because I wanted a chain lift for originally, and it's the only one besides the Vector that has a chain lift that like has this type of track, I think. That not like a vertical one, but like a normal chain lift, I think, because the Zenith is launched. Invincible is a cable lift. What else is there? The Typhoon obviously is vertical only, I think. I'm pretty sure it only has vertical. Vector, it's just, I knew I didn't want to use the vector trains unless it was the only one that looked realistic, which I knew it wouldn't be, because the Colossus literally uses the same trains as the Zenith model in game, which is the hydraulic launch, except it's it's the Zenith trains, but not really zero car because it's attached to the front car, but the front is the same as the Invincible. And I chose to go with the Invincible because the Zenith is super long, and front bumper view made the POVs really weird with the Zenith. And also, I just thought it would be a better experience with lap bars. And so, yeah, I did that. Back to the chain lift. The chain lift doesn't have a catwalk. And so what I was going to do, I'm like, alright, I'll just place the invisible LSMs like over it, because I have the mod that gives every coaster the LSMs even if it doesn't have it, but sometimes that they're invisible if that track doesn't have LSMs. So I'm like, okay, I'll just do that and then place the and have it catwalks on for it, and then just go down so it looks like there's a catwalk, like, so it's kind of like overlapping. But I forgot that the Infinity Coaster in game already has a catwalk. It already has an LSM, not a catwalk, what am I saying? It already has an LSM. So it wasn't invisible. So I decided to just use an LSM lift hill and say, oh, it was part of Intamin's design language because this was built only a few years after Maverick. And my park, saw Maverick and they're like, we want a lift hill like that for our next roller coaster. Can you hook us up? And Intamin's like, yeah, bro. So yeah. Also, it's really cool. It was really easy. Well, it should have been really easy to time when the coaster trains leave, because the LSMs aren't a block section, so I can just have 2 block breaks and run 2 trains, and have it set to 0 waiting time, so the train will automatically wait until the other train clears the block break and is in the second block break right behind the station before it departs, so I don't have to worry about departing too early and getting stuck at the top of the lift. But I didn't want it to be like that, because in real life they're not like that, so I spent like 20 minutes finding like how much time it would take to do the lap, because it says like the duration like in the test results, but it's never accurate for some reason. Like, it's never accurate it's so annoying. So I just kind of timed it myself, and I eventually got a good number, and then because then I can also like have more variability, like, so sometimes it'll take 5 seconds from when the train hits the brakes, but sometimes it'll take 20 if operations are slower, you know? So yeah, that was my I like to do that with my coasters, even though literally none of the other ones do it. But yeah, I don't know, I might switch it back, I don't know, I'm fine with it right now. But another thing I did, you saw me do it a minute ago, but there's a small little airtime pop before what I call the reverse flying snake dive, which is when it's a snake dive in real life. It's on Storm Runner. It's the only coaster it's on. It's a really fun element, but there's an elevated heartline roll, and then it keeps rolling into like a dive loop sort of thing. But it doesn't really go up. Like, it goes like, it does a heartline roll, and then it keeps rolling to about 90, and then it still keeps rolling, but it starts going down at that same time, and then eventually you're at like 270, and you're in a dive loop position. So it's pretty cool. And it just kind of finishes that off. So what I did, and the one on Storm Runner, which is the only one in the world, it also does kind of keep twisting, so it's almost 360. So what I did here, I had an upwards heartline roll that it's kind of like a sidewinder, but not really. That then goes into a continuous heartline roll that's elevated, and then a bank turn that goes down. But right before that, there's a little airtime hill. You saw me add LSMs to it for some reason. It was looking oddly sluggish towards the end, and I didn't really like that, and I was too lazy to reprofile it, because I really liked it. I just wish it was a little bit faster. So on that airtime hill, I added some LSMs that would slightly boost the train just a little bit faster, but they're disguised as trims, and you don't really notice the speed up because it doesn't really go that much faster, but it's just enough where it isn't too sluggish at the end. And in real life, I'm pretty sure the Smiler and Colossus both have airtime hills where they use like the thinner track, and they have trims on them. I'm pretty sure they do. I know Terran has something. On Terran, there's an airtime hill that has trims over it that's similar to that. It's just the triple tube spine instead of the dual spine on Terran at Phantasialand. So I know it's a realistic thing that was in Intamin's design language around that time. So I'm like, let's do it. And I think it's cool, honestly. Like, there's a little catwalk. It's like, oh, trims. But you don't actually slow down. You speed up, like 2 miles per hour. It's only like a 2 mile per hour boost, and you don't feel any boost. But then the last part of the ride just runs so much faster. I don't know how it does it. It's so sick. But you can kind of see it right there. Before the snake dive, reverse snake dive. Yeah, here I'm changing the colors because I did not like the colors. I just didn't think it really matched that kind of sci-fi futuristic thing I was going for. So what I did, I took Bizarro's color scheme at Great Adventure, which is blue track with purple supports. I just made it more vibrant. And I think it actually works really well. And here's the path, like that like goes under where the other path would be, you know. But yeah, I'm really happy with myself for this color scheme. I wish that there was like a in-game color that was like a silver, because I wanted the trains to be blue with silver trims, similar to Millennium Forces trains. But it just looks like it looks like either white trims or just boring gray trims, and I don't really like that. So that's stupid. Another thing that's stupid, for some reason I can't place paths under that corkscrew, even though there's so much clearance. It's so bullshit. Yeah, that was just a little rant. But yeah. Getting these paths to line up was also kind of a nightmare. The queue path. And getting the fast pass queue wasn't that bad though. Yeah, that was me just kind of timing how fast it would take to walk the queue. Because I didn't want it to be too long, but I didn't want it to be too short either. And it's kind of hard to judge just by looking at it. Like, and I'm too lazy to calculate, oh, how long is it with every single piece that's 13 feet that I did and stuff. So yeah, that's what I do for queues. I just time them. And yeah, I think the POV is soon. Yeah, the POV is soon. I'll probably just end it. Exit path. Yeah, I built the exit path. But yeah, this is all that I'll do for now for this coaster. I'll go I think the entrance is what I'm going to do next for my next episode. I'm not going to be working on this for a while, but I'm not abandoning it. Don't worry. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like and sub if you want. Follow my Twitch, join my Discord, blah, blah, blah. All the usual. I kind of stretch this out because there's still a little bit of time. But yeah, thanks for watching, and peace out. Bye.